Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. And I've got too many dogs in the room with me, so we might have issues, but what's new, right? So this is a tarot tag, 8 Special Moments, that was started by Diane Jarecki, and I will put a link to her video in the information box below this one. And you should check that out because she has just such a lovely story about her romance with her husband. And she's doing this 8 special moments in honor of their 8-year anniversary of being married. So it's just sweet and beautiful. And just the generosity, and she kind of glows as she's talking about it. It's just great. And then she shows some cards about her journey through life, her special moments, and this is intended to be uplifting, happy moments in our lives. So I think I ended up with more than 8, so we'll just take this as helping Diane and her husband along for the next couple of years. At first I was thinking 8, oh my gosh, it's going to take, I can't imagine 8, coming up with 8, but then then I got on a roll. And what's a little bit sad to me is that I really had to go backwards to get my special moments, which isn't surprising in some ways, and because I am what I would say I'm not in my right place. I bought a house in a place that is not my right place, and and I've had my Lyme disease for, I don't know, 12, 14 years now, and so a lot of the special moments that I had I really don't have access to, and I guess I haven't found a way to replace them with things that are equally special, equally vibrant for me as a person. So there we go, something I need to consider. It isn't that I don't have good moments. I mean, I have good moments all the time, and beautiful moments with my students, and beautiful moments in other ways. In fact, now I just thought of another special moment that I should probably include in here. But I haven't picked a card for it. Maybe I'll mention it, maybe I won't. So let's get going. So the first is represented by the Prairie Tarot Sun card, and so when I was not this young, when I was in my teens, I got a horse, and I got more than one horse. This is the first horse that I got, and he ended up having ring bone, I think it was, and so we ended up going back to the same place where we got him, which had lots of horses, and kind of doing a swap. But the result of his ring bone actually was that he had the most beautiful canter and trot. I mean, you couldn't even bounce on him. He was just so airy. And the property there was like this. And this is from the Unicorns. What is it called? Magical Unicorns Oracle deck. And so our land, where the pasture was out in front, I think we had 5 acres of this, goes like, well, it goes like this, and then way up, and then up at the top. So what I did a few times while I had this horse called Tacit, I think it was like I would come home from school or something, and I would just get on his back. I would climb up on his back, probably using the fence, and he would run. And so he just took that as, oh, we're going for a run, and so, you know, he could be as mellow as could be. And so nothing on, I just would get on him. And we would go for this total run, down the hill, up the hill, around and down the hill and up the hill. I didn't actually do it that many times, but it was like, whoa, I mean, talk about getting your heart beating. I'm not a thrill seeker, and so that was like, oh, I can't believe I just did that. partly I can't believe I just survived that. But it was definitely a special moment. These are not going to be in chronology because they're just as I sort of remembered them. So this would be a younger time period when I was maybe the age of the boy that's in the Prairie Tarot Sun card. And there was a time in my early teens or tweens when I also had kind of an experience, and this is more sitting in the grass rather than under the trees. So this is a tree card, gorgeous, and this is from the Nature's Whispers deck. And I've got this one to represent it also. And that was a feeling of connectedness, a feeling like I could go down into the roots of all of the plants and feel completely connected and connect to every place on earth via whatever channels I wanted to take. Now, I didn't journey per se, it was just a feeling, and this was, again, not in trees, it was actually just sitting in grass and feeling the grass and the roots and feeling like there's heat coming up from the earth. And I was in Michigan, so that's a little less likely than here, here in Alabama. And also feeling expansiveness outward as well. So this kind of feeling of total connection. So there's that. Another special moment to me, I did a lot of hiking in my younger days. And ended up on the Line Creek Plateau. And I wasn't expecting this to be a particularly lousy hike. It's not the tallest. This is in the Beartooth Plateau region near Red Lodge, Montana. And I took a hike up. And it was a nice hike, but it wasn't spectacular. You slow hike up, 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 up. And got up onto the Line Creek Plateau and went to the edge. And I had never been on an edge like that before. So this was a sheer down, I don't know how many thousands of feet. If it was I don't know if it's 2,000 feet down. I don't think it's more than that. And very down. So you're on the edge. And you're also on the edge kind of that mountainous area. And so I could see way out into Wyoming from where I was. So the view was just, it wasn't spectacular, it was vast. It was just vast. So it was like the hills are alive, you know. If I had been a singer and a dancer, I would have twirled around. So the hills are alive with the sound of music. But so it was just a very expansive kind of experience. And this, I got this Fool card also to represent that, because this is from the Tarot Illuminati. Because he is on that kind of a cliff and looking out again over a really vast expanse. The next one is, so that was in, this was in my 20s, I guess. And so when I was in my, this is probably before I was 10, I might have, probably about the age of 10, our family took one of its first, if not its first, trip to Isle Royale National Park in the middle of Lake Superior. And they had an incinerator out back behind the hotel campground area, and the moose liked to go there and lick the residue. I didn't know if it was salt or ash they liked. Anyway, they would go do that. So one time when my parents, well, our whole family, I think, was watching some kind of nature presentation program in the evening, and I think I needed to go to the bathroom, and my sister came with me, and my sister would have been maybe 6. So we might even have been younger than 10 and 6. But anyway, somewhere around there. So we go to the bathroom, and I said to my sister, let's go see the moose. Let's sneak off. Let's sneak off and go look at the moose at the incinerator. It'll just take a minute. It'll just be a second. You know, so we did. We diverted, and we went, and we saw a moose, and we kind of got up. We wanted to see how close we could get, of course. The common error, right? So we get up a little bit into this scrubby area. So there's a road that goes to the incinerators, is what we walked in on, and we see it's a female moose licking the salts. And we start to get up into this scrubby area. The side, it's up a bank, and then you're in this scrubby area. And so we're standing there, like taking one step closer, and we really weren't that close to the moose, but you know, children's suspense. So you know, we would take a little step closer, and then we would take a little step closer, and probably the moose recognized two things, you know, that this is sneaky, stalky behavior. And that we were children. So, and chances are her baby was probably somewhere over in that scrub somewhere, which of course we weren't thinking anything about. So what this moose did was, and I checked this not that long ago, I checked in with my sister, did this really happen? Did it really happen? I'm thinking that I'm embellishing this as I get older. She said, no, it really happened. Yeah, we did that. So, one of the nice things about having siblings. So, this moose detached itself from the incinerator and started walking toward us, like toward us, right toward us. And I grabbed my sister and I said, don't move, because I was afraid she was going to flee. You know, she was going to try to move, and I wanted to see if the moose would come up to us. You know, so that kind of fantasy of being friends with the moose. And so I held her there, and we just stood there, still as could be. And this moose walked right by. I mean, I could have gone like this and probably touched her. And she walked right by us and past us and cruised on by into the woods behind. And we stood there for a while. We just stood there because, I mean, you don't know. I mean, and it wasn't, and when we turned around, we couldn't see her anymore. And it was getting quite dark anyway. But I could see something, like maybe there was a male moose back there in the shadows in the trees. This is the only moose card that I think I have. So this is from the medicine cards. Moose. And of course this is a male moose. But our encounter was with the female moose. So that's a special encounter. And you know, there are a variety of other encounters. You know, a lot of my special moments are encounters with animals. A lot of them that I could think of, but for variety's sake, I've given you other things. But here's another one. An encounter, not an exciting encounter like this, more of a humorous encounter. Again, in my 20s, I didn't really start shaving my legs with any regularity until I was in my 40s. So I had nice hairy legs, and again in Montana, and we were bathing in kind of a favorite, it's the Blackfoot River, so out of Missoula, that was one of the favorite places to go. There's more than one spot on the Blackfoot that you can bathe, you know, take a dip. And so we were in this place where the water kind of hit a rock embankment, very short cliff, just a short outcrop, and was doing, you know, the slow eddying, very slow, nice. So I was standing, and there was a boulder under the water, and so I was standing kind of tiptoe on this boulder, and I was actually leaning into the current a little bit, and I could just stay there. I mean, I could just stay there permanently. It was a perfect balance. And so I was there enjoying that, the water running slowly past me and the ambiance of the area. And I looked down and the light from the top was kind of penetrating the water to some extent, not the full depth, but to, I could see my legs. And I was surrounded by fish. I was surrounded by fish, looking at my legs. They were all looking at my legs. And before long I realized that they were looking at how the hair on my legs was kind of floating, and that they thought that the hair on my legs was like worms of some kind, something edible. And so they were investigating. So, and I thought this was humorous, So I'm looking down and I'm thinking, all right, so how long can I stand here and wait? Can I stand the suspense until one of these fish gets close enough and gives a nip to one of my hairs? And so as I'm doing this, testing my mettle in that regard, up from the depths that I couldn't see comes this huge fish. I mean, he must have been at least that long. All right, he's probably about that long. Probably wasn't any bigger than that. But a big fish starts rising from the... And it was funny because that's exactly what it was. He wasn't coming, he wasn't going. From the murk at the bottoms, he rose up to my view to see what everybody was so interested in. And that I couldn't take. And I cocked my leg and everybody disappeared. So, I will take this from the... Oh, and I even put it outside to air it a little bit because it came to me with some odor. The modern spellcasters, because this has those bug-eyed fish down at the bottom there, and of course it has the mountains, so it's a good representation. And I also have this to represent. This is again from the Prairie Tarot. This is the Page of Cups. Much more active fish there, but fish in the area of his legs. So the next special moment is longer than a moment. This is a period that is 2 summers long, where I was the clerk at you can't even call it middle of nowhere, spur into nowhere. It's a housing, it's not a development. I don't know what you'd call it. There's a place that's out, I think it's paved now, but it used to be, people would come up the road and they'd start cursing. This one guy, at any rate, well, more than one, but this one guy came to visit somebody up at the cabins in this middle of nowhere place. And he was just so mad, he was so angry, because somebody told him to come up this road in his fancy car, and you have to dodge boulders to go up this road. And often you're going down into mud puddles or whatever. It's not a sports car road. I think they've paved it since, or paved it closer to the actual housing area, housing association, I guess. But I mean, it dates way back to the 1920s. So I had 2 summers where I was the clerk in the store there. And so this is a fair rendition of the area. This is Banff, further to the north. This area that I'm talking about, people, it's kind of a southern route if you're either horsepacking or hiking to go up to Yellowstone. So I worked in the morning and the evening, and so I had the middle of the day, and I would often go for a 6-mile hike up to Elk Lake in the middle of the day, or hang out on the edge of the lake. And so this, from Dreams of Gaia, is, and I had my Norwegian elk hound at that time, this very much represents that entire period of my life. Whether the East Rosebud, which is what that was, the East Rosebud Lake Association, or hiking other places. That represents me in my 20s. So other things. Where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I'm not going to go too far over. This is another period, and I don't know that it's a special moment, but it kind of is a special moment. Okay, so when I had my Lyme disease, and I was flattened when I first had it, and I was totally flattened. I couldn't do anything. I chose this for the people who kept me going during that time, the people who stood by me as friends, my family, everybody who, looked after my material well-being, my psychological well-being, everybody who helped me through that. That's a nod to them. And I know this is supposed to be happy times, but that is without those people, I hate to think what could have happened. Another special, this would have been in my early 30s. Another special moment was when I went back to school. I don't know if I was 29 or 30 when I went back to school. Anyway, went back to university. I was taking classes in writing, and this might have been in the fiction class, but I was essentially writing nonfiction in that class. Maybe it was the first nonfiction class, but I thought that was a different teacher. Anyway, one of the other students who had been to this area I've been talking about, he was more in Bozeman, when I went back to school, I went to Northern Michigan University, so it was Michigan, but I met a young man there, one of my compatriots in the writing program, had spent some summers or had relatives or something out in the Bozeman area, and had been to the place I was talking about. I don't know if it was, maybe I was talking about Yellowstone. I can't remember. But he quoted verbatim, not looking at my paper, anything, a full sentence or so of my essay. So we're in class, and this is critiquing. This is what they do. They critique. And he says, I couldn't sleep last night, or something to that effect. He said, because this line just kept ringing in my head and is a perfect description. And he quoted my writing. I mean, I can't memorize my writing. And this person did. So that has to be one of the greatest compliments I have ever gotten in my life. And so this is the Shadowscapes, 6 of Wands. So to me, this is that young man offering me the laurel wreath, right there, saying, I honor your description, I honor your accuracy. And I guess this will be the last one, because it's the last card that I have. Also, during that time when I was studying, there's at least one time I remember where I'm in the library and I'm just so absorbed and excited by the research that I'm doing. Okay, very nerdy. And just, time could have stood still. And I think it did there for a time. And I just thought to myself, I could stay in here and contemplate whatever. I don't know if it was the book of poetry or a particular poem that I was exploring the meaning of, but it was bliss. Okay, that's part of my bliss. And so this is from the Fairy Tarot. And so this is her. I don't know why she's releasing a coin. I don't even remember which one this is. But that whole researchy with books in the library, even the fact that she's uplifted there is great. So there you go. However many that is. Let's see. I can't count the cards because I have multiple cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, so maybe 8, 9. So just 1 over. That's not bad. And I would tell you that other story, except this is how good my memory is. I can't even remember what that other story was. We're at 25 minutes anyway. Thank you so much, Diane. It was an interesting challenge to start with, and there was a secondary challenge of trying to find the cards to show those moments. And it allowed me to relive some happy past, as well as to recognize that I need to be doing something about the present. I do, if I want to add to that collection of moments. All right, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.